Much of the world's attention this week has been on two powerful storms, Hurricane Florence in the United States and Super Typhoon Mangkhut in the Philippines. What were once rare forces of nature are becoming almost regular events.
I see a biblical proportion flood event that's going to occur. I see the beach communities being inundated with water, and destruction is going to be pretty epic in nature.
It was really striking when I heard the police chief tell me this is going to be biblical.
2018 has seen extreme weather patterns across the globe. Scientists are trying to find explanations for these new phenomena.
Yes, we are seeing a slower storm. It seems like it's much more like Hurricane Harvey, which a year ago dumped so much rain for so many days. Since 1980, we've had a doubling of the frequency of flooding events, and now we're actually seeing that here in North Carolina firsthand.
You literally have an entire tidal wave extending for miles with thousands of pounds of torque coming at you.
More intense fires, more devastating droughts, deadly heat waves with tens of thousands of premature deaths, a rising ocean, and disastrous floods. That's the future California faces over the next century.
Firefighters in California battled more than 6,000 wildfires that burned 1 million acres of land. Experts say the US wildfire season is now 87 days longer than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, these fires never seem to stop, and this one is out of control.
Well, it's been a relentless fire season in California, to say the least. More than 45 miles of an interstate there now closed through the weekend as firefighters battle another one.
Exploding across the hills near the California-Oregon border, the so-called Delta Fire tripling in size. 300-foot flames burning along I-5 before leaping the interstate.
As the fire burned through dense forest, flames shot up to 300 feet into the air.
Drivers abandon their cars and big rigs catch fire. Some 45 miles of freeway shut down as the inferno closed in.
And with the rest of September and October left, this will end up being the worst wildfire season ever in California history.
California is already dealing with the biggest, most deadly outbreak of wildfires in state history. But the assessment says the area burned by such conflagrations will increase 77% by the turn of the century. And 2/3 of California's famous beaches could completely disappear by then, devoured by the Pacific rising nearly 3 meters above its current level.
Triggering evacuations, the blaze is engulfing mountain ridges and could create its own weather. Overnight, racing out of control and unchecked.
Never seen anything like it in Redding in 40 years.
First, it's just a beautiful sunny day, and then the next moment around the next bend, it's like, what is going on here? Yeah, it was surreal.
They say it was the strongest quake they have felt so close to home.
4.4 earthquake hit Laverne last night.
In Anaheim, the quake was felt during a game at Angels Stadium.
So I just had a little rolling earthquake here.
Initially, I thought somebody maybe hit the car, but I just felt a roll under the car. I never felt that before.
Kind of a rolling, you know, it wasn't jerky, it was rolling, and it just lasted about for a few seconds longer than you were comfortable with.
Like a huge shaking. I mean, I could almost hear the earth like moving.
45 miles away at LAX.
I know y'all felt that earthquake.
This woman posted on Instagram she was worried about going to work in the air traffic control tower.
Do y'all think I feel like working tonight? Heck no.
Check out this cat in Burbank, bristling when the shaking started, then jumping and bolting.
When the rain stopped falling earlier this year, many Afghans knew that trouble was coming. But they never imagined that the subsequent drought would be so bad.
We've now got 250,000 people who have been displaced, almost certainly because of the drought,
and this is the number that we thought we would see by the end of this year. So we're currently revising our figures, but my main message is the situation's extremely serious.
The UN says 250,000 Afghans have abandoned their homes so far this year in search of water. That's 5 times the number displaced by fighting between government forces and Taliban and ISIL fighters during the same period. More than 2 million people are at risk of not having enough to eat. Reduced snowfall and scarce rains in northwest Afghanistan have caused the drought disaster.
Now to a deadly and devastating earthquake rocking Japan overnight. The magnitude 6.7 quake causing massive landslides.
Japan is reeling with this earthquake, hitting just 2 days after the typhoon Jebi struck the same region, the most powerful storm to hit Japan in a quarter century.
For almost a minute, millions of people felt the ground shake. The magnitude 6.7 earthquake rattled Japan's Hokkaido island city so hard, some people were thrown off their feet.
Oh, this room is shaking.
And power to nearly 3 million homes was cut.
The quake also shut down all transportation services, including the airport in Hokkaido. Telephone lines and mobiles are down. It's been a difficult week for Japan. On Tuesday, Typhoon Jebi, the most powerful to hit Japan in 25 years, killed at least 10 people. The largest airport had to be evacuated in the wake of the storm.
Very well prepared for natural disasters. You may have noticed that we've had quite a few lately.
After a summer of deadly natural disasters, it's unclear just how long it'll take for the millions who live here to recover.
In Venezuela after a powerful earthquake rocked the country.
The 7.3 quake was felt in neighboring Trinidad and Tobago and as far away as Colombia.
Moments of panic in Caracas as entire buildings started to shake. This the moment I evacuated my apartment.
Monster typhoon, which has triggered widespread alerts and warnings across East and Southeast Asia, has been inching closer to the Philippines as the equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane. The northern Philippines feeling the first lashings of wind and rain.
It's the strongest storm to hit the Philippines this year. Mangkut slammed into Luzon Island just before dawn, bringing pounding rains and winds of more than 200 kilometers an hour. Officials are warning of 6-meter-high storm surges, landslides, and flash floods.
But a system that has millions and millions of people concerned along the eastern seaboard of the United States. There are 2 other hurricanes behind it and a tropical disturbance in the western Caribbean.
Wind gusts at the Wilmington International Airport reaching 105 miles per hour, the highest recorded gust since Hurricane Helene in 1958.
Look at the sheer amount of water already arriving, and the eye of Florence isn't even here yet.
The full force of Hurricane Florence is being felt on the U.S. East Coast, endangering some 10 million people.
Just hours ago, Florence was downgraded from a Category 1 hurricane to a tropical storm, but still the heavy rains and winds are relentless. And here is why. Florence is essentially sitting still, pounding the Carolina coast.
Overall damage, it will be hard at the end of the day, I think, to find a rival for this storm.
In Wilmington, many of the trees that contributed to its historic beauty are now gone.
It all began in the early morning hours, hurricane-force winds, as Florence slammed into the coast, making landfall as we were on the air.
The eye of Hurricane Florence is expected right here in Wilmington.
Completely gone.
This was her dock before,
This is the bottom floor of our house.
and now. The storm surge hit her house from all sides, the Atlantic and the Bay waters leaving her home surrounded.
It's incredible to look out every window and literally see waves. It's as if my house landed in the middle of the ocean.
Winds chewing up this gas station, the roof collapsing, then carried away by the winds. The storm surge as high as 10 feet in some places. This boat battered and dropped on land. Streets blocked, trees down, trapping hundreds of residents in high water. And it all happened very quickly. From the highway in Wilmington, the view of the shopping center in the distance, the lights flickering, then off. Across town, this parking lot suddenly in total darkness. Florence's earliest victims are along the coast, the barrier islands. Take a look at the waves crashing inside this home in North Topsail Beach. So many lives affected, and those firefighters and an entire community praying tonight.
A little bit more atmospheric news for you. The Northern Lights danced in the sky over the Arctic Circle for several hours last night. It is, of course, the Aurora Borealis, and is a result of electrically charged particles from the sun that enter the Earth's atmosphere.
Wow.
This is the start of the Aurora watching season, and people were out and around at midnight in the northern parts of Finland just to take this in.
But the memory everyone here will take home is the one that flew over the flags and created its own tribute.
It was like something sent from heaven. It really was. It was really, really inspiring to see this eagle come down and just kind of like, giving us a salute.
On a bridge over Coon Rapids, the Stars and Stripes connect to more than a day in history. Each year they gather with flags, heart, and soul.
Hey guys, we're out here live on the Highway 10 bridge. I want to show you what's going on here on the bridge. Look what landed on top of the aerial. We're all set up here so nobody forgets. And there goes the eagle. Landed right on top of the aerial. Unbelievable.